Thank you. Okay, and then I want to conclude the chair's report with the Neighbor of the Month presentation, and we have a wonderful awardee tonight, and I'd like to ask Barbara Van Buren and Madge Rosenberg to come on up and say a few words about our awardee, our honoree.
Don't rush.
That's going to be hard.
You want to do it from there? Or I should come?
Yes.
As co-chairs of the Health and Human Service Committee, Madge and I are really, really happy to have the Neighbor of the Month award given to David Reich, who's epitomized what a good neighbor is for so long. Having spent most of his life in Westchester, where he worked for IBM, when he retired, he came down to New York about 12 years ago and lived on the West Side. He immediately jumped into being a good neighbor. He joined the Block Association on 102nd and 103rd Street. He became the president, became the treasurer, and then when he got finished doing all those things, he decided that he would do something even further to help neighbors help neighbors. And we've been trying to find somebody who could do this for a long time. David and Hannah Rubin, who was the head of the 104th Street Block Association, created what is now known as Bloomingdale Aging in Place. They've developed a neighbor-to-neighbor program organized by the community, by community leaders, and really working towards developing a total neighborhood and community. And David is known in the community as a very special neighbor. He's the computer whiz of the neighborhoods. People go to him trying to find out what's wrong with their computer, what they can do. And they go to him for other things too. When they have problems, David usually knows where they can go in order to get help. Bloomingdale Aging in Place was started by community people. And they wanted to have a listing of neighbors who wanted to help other people if they needed somebody to go shopping or to read some things when they weren't able to read. And they wanted to find the people who needed the help. And they went block by block, alerting everyone in the neighborhood that this was a new program, getting lists of people who were willing to do things for other people, and lists of people who wanted things. Now, they didn't have as many people who needed things and were asking for them as they did volunteers. So they were very smart, and they didn't just say, well, we'll just do it for the people who sign up. They figured out that one of the reasons that people might not be volunteering was that they didn't know the people who would be coming into their homes. They didn't know each other well enough. So they decided they would help people get to know each other better. And they developed all sorts of programs, really different sorts, like a Halloween parade for people, for the kids and their families. They developed speakers nights where they would talk about things that older people would be interested in, such as healthcare, Medicare, and the last one they gave was on cluttering in your home, which I understand was a very popular one. And that was to get people out, seeing each other, getting to know their faces. But another thing that they did was to develop social kinds of events. And people would get an email telling them, a group of us are going down to Smokies, jazz session tomorrow night. If anyone would like to come and join us at such and such an hour. And getting people to get out of their homes, do something they might really like to do, but to do it with other people. And so getting to know other neighbors, but also getting to know more things around the community. And David wasn't just jazz sessions, but art exhibits, concerts, different things that were going on. It didn't cost anything, just simple to go to. And people might really want to go to them, but they didn't want to go alone. And so they've gotten more and more people to join one another, do things together, and his group keeps growing. And the people in the neighborhood that I've talked to all say that maybe he thinks he's retired, but he's a full-time community person. But he does leave time for the garden in the backyard of his apartment building, seeing his grandchildren, making wooden toys for them in his workshop at home, and seeing all the wonderful things that are in New York City that people get excited about coming to New York to see. And so, because he's a good neighbor, because we'd all like to have good neighbors like him, he is being awarded the Good Neighbor of the Month tonight.
Got it? It's all right.
That's
Forget it.
okay.
We got it. Willing got it.
Just a few words. Thank you, Chairman Wymore and members of the Community Board 7 for this recognition. It's particularly meaningful to me because you all know very well what it means to be a volunteer concerned with improving conditions for your fellow residents. Before I moved to the Upper West Side about 12 years ago, I lived in a small town in Westchester. When I was about to leave, a person on my street said she was sorry to see me go. "You were such a good neighbor," she said. "We never knew you were there." Then I arrived on West 102nd Street, where I was welcomed into the West 102nd and 103rd Street Block Association, asked to take on a few tasks, and I offered to help with the newsletter. I thank the members of the Block Association for their warmth and generosity. There's a great reservoir of goodwill in this community that is waiting to be tapped. As Barbara mentioned, about 3 years ago, Hannah Rubin, then the president of the West 104th Street Block Association, and I started to organize what has become Bloomingdale Aging in Place. With our participation of many others, we realized that there are among us vulnerable seniors in need of simple assistance that could be provided by their neighbors. BAIP offers ways for people to connect so that the provision and acceptance of help becomes a natural and neighborly thing to do. Again, thank you very much for this award.